I have a problem with water getting under the garage door, simply because the concrete is sitting at the same level there, and the water is not running towards the drain. It's actually running back under the door, especially in this corner here, right in this section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just drill out these rivets on the bottom to expose the frame, and I bought some rubber, and I'm going to slip the rubber in between the steel frame and the cladding, and that will work as a water deflector. So that's the idea. Okay, I've put that rubber strip in. I'm still having a few issues closing the door. Some of the rubber's getting trapped underneath the frame of the door, and I've got to sort of pry it out with a screwdriver, but once it's out, it seems to be sitting pretty good. So hopefully that will keep the water out of the garage now. This is the real bad spot, so I'm hoping it works. Yeah, there's really no other fix, so fingers crossed. You can see here we had a water trail that basically comes through here and under my coupe, and it was getting in here at the front of the garage, basically from the midway point right to the end. And that's because in winter here, this land is really bad for swelling. So this concrete on the outside, when it was laid, it was actually lower than the garage, but during winter, because it's exposed, it's on the outside, this swells more than what the garage slab swells, so it brings it up to the same level, and then when the water runs down here, it runs straight under the door. So I've put this rubber strip on today, hoping that is going to help keep the water out. Now the other thing I have an issue with is the door frame here. I can't adjust it from the mechanism to lift it, and as I said, you know, things swell and things tighten up. As you can see on these doors here, I've got on the right hand side door, I've got a beautiful gap along the top, and in summer I have that same gap. You can see there in the corner the gap's the same, but it's starting to tighten up now because the slab is actually swelling right at this midway point, and eventually by the time we get into the middle of winter, that door will actually be hitting the frame and it'll be extremely hard to open. So there's not much I can do about that, but with this front door here, this tilt door, let me see if I can move some of this. You can see the framework. You can see the framework here is clear, and then it hits the concrete. Concrete swelling in this corner, that's what's caused the crack. So what I'm going to do, I don't really want to grind into the concrete, because what we're trying to do is keep the garage slab above the concrete outside, so I don't want to take any off the surface here. So what I'll do when the weather gets better, when we get into springtime, is I'll just dismantle the side of this, and I'll run a 2mm grinder blade through the frame, which will give me a nice 2mm gap, and then all I'll do is just bring the bottom of this frame up and re-weld it, and then I should have clearance. Should have enough clearance. Sure, it puts the door out a square, but I don't really have many other options. We're on full adjustment here already. I can't go any higher because we're actually hitting here too, because the concrete is pushing the whole door up. So it's better to cut the frame and re-weld it on this side. I don't want to cut the frame on that side, because what will happen is whenever everything dries out and shrinks in summer, I'll be left with a dirty big gap on that side, and if we get sort of like a summer downpour, which we occasionally get here in Melbourne, the rubber might not be enough to keep the water out. So yeah, I've got to sort of just make some compromises and do what I got to do to get it to seal up. So yeah, we're working on all the leaks at the moment. So hopefully that should stop our little river that runs through here and pools here, which is not good, because I don't want this sinking, because then the roof's going to sink, and yeah, it's just not good. I've got the sideboards here on the front of the deck done. They're actually removable panels, so they can be taken out for access underneath the deck if I need to change a lighting cable or a light. These ones are screwed in here. I've got one more piece to put along the bottom there, which I've cut, but I'm trying to straighten it out at the moment. So that's actually wet, and I've got weights on it just to get it straight, get the bow out of it. So it's pretty much coming along all right. So I've got the sides done here too. All got to be sanded back, of course, but all my miter cuts are done. I've got to buy some more Merbau decking for the front here to fill this in. I haven't yet done this side. I've got to go and buy the 4 lengths I require to finish this off. I got my extension cables this week to run from this light here to this light, and then I needed another one that was going to run, I believe, from here to here. So I got them delivered, which is great. So I can, once I seal the deck, I can put my lights in. What else? I've made a small alteration on the mounting of the shade sail. As you can see up there, that's the original hole right up the top there. I've actually moved it down a couple of inches, 100 mil or something. I needed a little bit more of a slope on the shade sail. What was happening when it was raining, the center was filling up with water, and it wasn't running off. Now I've done everything I can to try and get these ripples out of it, and I've tried various different ways to try and pull it tighter. I've put this eye bolt on the outside to try and pull it across more to try and get the ripples out. It didn't work. I had it going through, obviously, the top one, coming out on the back. That didn't do it either. I've actually got to knock that in a bit. I haven't clipped it properly. So I've tried various different things. That's a fixed point there, so there's not much I can do with that. I've got an adjuster there. It's as tight as I can possibly go across the back without tearing the stitching out across here, from here to here. That's as tight as I can possibly go. I've had to make some other little minor adjustments on these roof posts. I did use coach bolts to start with. That didn't go right through the roof truss, and I found after a couple of windy days they'd worked themselves loose. So then I went with really long coach bolts and went all the way through the roof truss until it was hanging out probably, I don't know, 40 mil through the truss, and that also didn't work. So now what I've done is I've used stainless steel bolts that go all the way through the truss, like a nut and bolt. So it can't work its way loose anymore. So they're fixed in place. I've just siliconed back around the post where it goes into the LED flashing, because that was obviously, that kept splitting as the post kept moving. So we shouldn't get any more movement from these roof posts. But you know, it is what it is. To me, it looks like it's got to be pulled out more this way, but I have pulled it out that way, and I still can't get those ripples out. I don't know why. So I'm going to leave it at that, and see how we go this week. We're not expecting any rain, but we may get some wind. So it holds up all right in the wind. It's just that if we get a really, really big downpour, it just tends to pull in the centre. But I'm hoping now with that that slight drop on the corner, we get a bit more runoff. I was hoping to get a lot more done on the deck today because yesterday was absolutely horrid. All week's been horrid. Rain, just hasn't stopped. And I had a couple of other little jobs I had to do. My front door was catching on the threshold, so I had to sand that back. In summertime, when everything sort of shrinks again, the front door will be fine. I had an issue with the drainage of the guttering on my garage here. This is all going to be modified come next spring. It would have been nice to get it done over the summer period, but I didn't have the time. Basically, I just ran out of time. I'm going to go double the width of that. Probably remain the same depth, but go double the width because I've got two roofs running off into the guttering here. So what's happening is it's not draining properly, and I'm getting a lot of water sitting here, and also the gutter will overflow if it's a heavy downpour. Now I've got gutter guard in there to keep all the leaves and debris out, so it should be fairly clean in there, but for some reason it's dropped, and what it's done is it's pulled the brackets away from the timber. As you can see, there is supposed to be a slight gap there because there was wall cladding in along here at one stage, but yeah, it has moved slightly. So what I've done today is I've just as a temporary measure, I've put some wedges up in here to push the gutter back, and some up in here too. I'm just going to put these lights on, guys. It might help a little bit. I've got the acro prop under here just at the moment, just to lift the gutter. I did have a drip coming from here where this bracket is, and I did actually put silicone on this rivet when I put it in. So whether it was actually leaking from the rivet, again, I don't know. So I just decided to drill it out, move the bracket away, and I've actually filled this bucket 3 times this afternoon. So that's a 5 litre bucket. So I've got 15 litres of water out of this gutter. So it just goes to show you how much weight, 15 litres, 15 kilos of weight pushing down on that gutter. And yeah, I'm just trying to drain the gutter now, knowing I'm not going to get any rain this week. I'm going to drain this, just let it drip away, and I might make some little outriggers that come off this beam and weld them up to the gutter on a 45 to help support the gutter for now. But eventually I'm going to take I'm going to modify these trusses, and where the timber bolts up, I have probably it's close to 50 mil. So I'm going to cut that truss back 50 mil and put the vertical bar back there, and then that will basically give me from this beam to this beam wide to put a new gutter system in all the way along here and out the back. I have to modify this one as well, as you can see. Probably got about 50 mil there. It's not a hard job. So yeah, we're gonna put a nice big, I guess you'd call it an industrial gutter, something they put on a factory roof or something like that. Might even cut this horizontal and vertical bar down and drop that a little bit lower so we can have a bit more depth as well. The only problem is these would have to be modified. I'd have to actually step those. So we'll just have a look. We'll see what we we'll see what our options are when it comes time to do it. The gutter is sloping, as you can see. Up here, the gutter is actually resting on a wedge. I don't know if you can see that due to the light, but that's up. And then here, we've got clearance here under that. And then as you get to the next one, it obviously gets a bit lower, but it's still not sitting on that beam. So we have got a slope, and then by the time you get to here, it's sitting on the cross beam there. So we've got a slope. We've got a slope. We just seem to have a bit of a sag here in the guts. And I did try and address this last winter, as you can see. I did put a bracket under there to try and stop the gutter from sagging, but yeah, it's come away from the timber now. It hasn't just dropped; it's actually come away. So yeah, I might just have to do a couple of little tweaks here and there to get this all sealed up pretty good. Decided to sand back one of these panels tonight. As you can see, that was the aged finish on it, and I've hit this with the belt sander, and it's come up like I wouldn't say like brand new, but it's come up pretty much like the deck. So I'm just going to keep going with this, and I'll show you where we get to. Okay, that's what we've ended up with, guys. So it's all nice and clean now, and I'm going to start on the other side. So there's a little bit of a difference. I know the lights aren't helping. See it for you to see the colour difference, but yeah, it's a hell of a lot different. So yeah, I'm hoping that in springtime as well. So obviously we're in May now, start of May, and here in Melbourne, spring starts about September. I'm hoping by September I'm going to be back on the Studebaker, working on the Studebaker. I haven't done an episode on this in nearly, I'm guessing, 20 months. It's been a long time. All the windscreen graft and everything we put in, you know, I've got a bit of surface rust there now. I didn't undercoat anything because I planned on continuing to work on it. So but yeah, we'll get stuck back into that. And in one of my caravan episodes from the other week, I started on these backboards, and then I've come to a big screaming halt on those as well, simply just because the deck was taking priority to try and get it finished before the winter rains came. So the deck is still the priority. I'm hoping by Thursday I'll have it all sanded and sealed up. So I've got my sealer here. So that's what I'm using to seal the deck. I was gonna try and go with that what do they call it? It's slipped my mind. Well, basically darkening of the timber, giving it a black finish. But I think the Merbau is too rich in colour to get a black finish coming out on it. I think if it, like with lighter woods like pine or teak or something like that, you may have a chance to get that ebony finish. But as you can see, they were my two test samples from the other week. This one had the tea on it, and this has had 2 coats of the vinegar solution put on it, and it's still not dark. And this one had no tea put on it, and this has had 2 coats as well. actually 3 coats, because 1 extra coat to make up for the fact that it had no tea on it. And I just don't like the colour. It's horrible. So I've abandoned that experiment. It was worth giving it a go. Nothing's gone to waste, because I use this for rust stripping anyway, the vinegar. Steel ball's always handy to have, and that's it. That's all I've really forked out, $5 to try it. It would have been nice, but you know, Merbau's a very rich timber, and it just didn't want to ebonize. I think it is. I think that's what they call it. I could be wrong, but yeah. I'll leave it here, guys, because I really don't have much else to show you today. Everything's just been sort of time consuming, and yeah, so alright, look forward to the next episode. Cheers.